Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, January 23rd, and we'll be taking a look at some props and picks, making some slips for the conference championships and NFL for the playoffs. So that's coming up this weekend. Joining me, since we're talking about props and pick'em, Grant Neefer from Scores and Odds, Parlay Science, and the Action Network Discord. You only got Grant. NFL's almost done. There's only 3 games left. So what are you going to be doing? Life after NFL. What are your plans after NFL is over?
I mean, it's the weird time of year where it's not quite golf and pool season yet. So I'll be hammering out some NBA stuff, just enjoying that, and then it becomes the most beautiful time of the year, right around the beginning of April, when baseball's going on, basketball's going on, the weather's warm. That's the best time of year.
Well, right now, we got 2 games this weekend for NFL. We got the Eagles and the Commanders. We got the Chiefs and the Bills. And we got a freebie. We got over half a passing yard. We're gonna put together a little promo slip. Get a little freebie here. I'm assuming, Grant, you're okay with over more than a half a passing yard for Jaden Daniels. I'm assuming that this is a good pick.
I am entirely fine with that, and it's really funny to me. Like I've seen this. We've seen those promos where it's like this over on sportsbooks, where it's over half a passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. I think it was 2 years ago in the Super Bowl where DK had a promo for Patrick Mahomes over 0.5 passing yards, and you got to boost it to plus 100, which no brainer, absolutely do that, right? Well, they kept it as a bet there just because they have to keep it on their site for, I'm sure, coding reasons or whatever, at I think minus 10,000, so 100 to 1 odd, or 1 to 100 odds rather. And so literally 5 minutes before the Super Bowl, 10, 15, whatever, I placed like $7,000, $8,000 to win $80 or whatever on it, and was like, oh, what happens if he gets injured on the first play and he doesn't play for the rest of the game? Well, I mean,
that's the chance you take. That's right. That's the odds. But what are the odds of that?
Yeah. The odds of that, like, how many times has that happened over the course of, we'll just say, the last 5 seasons? I think once with Aaron Rodgers, which he might have actually completed that pass. But yeah. That's basically it. Like I and Brady, I think the only 2 times I can think is Rodgers and Brady back in 2006, 2008, somewhere in that time frame where he got injured. No, it might have been 2004 when he got injured, tore his ACL on the first play. But yeah, that's been it. And I think both of them might have actually completed a pass there. So yeah, moral of the story is, if the odds are in your favor, I'm going to bet it most likely.
Well, we'll be going over some more promos for the Super Bowl in 2 weeks on Thursday for that. But as for now, we want looking for 2 props. We're using Prize Picks as a baseline as far as the pick, but you can use sports books, you can use whatever. So we need 2 for the first game, 2 for the second game. We want. I'm hoping that you got something for every team, an Eagles one, or a Commanders one, a Chiefs one, a Bills one. But if that's not the case, so be it. We're just looking to add 4 to this right now, and obviously I admit that once the games get thin, once we're down to playoffs and there's only 2 games, the lines tend to just. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be like Week 6 NFL. We can find 78 different things that are off enough for you to bet. So the margins are gonna be quite thin here. But Grant, you got the first one for us on Prize Picks or on the sports books that you got in Colorado?
Yeah, so I don't love this one. I don't hate this one, but it's actually some value over on Prize Picks. Jalen Hurts over 7.5 rushing attempts. I mean, Hurts for who knows however many games it's been, he's been rushing the ball a decent amount. Now I know last week he only had 7. And I know against Packers he only had 6, and I know that they've been using Barkley a decent amount, but 7.5 is a little bit too low. Washington defense isn't great. He's hit the over at this number in 8 of the past 13 games, 8 of the past 12 games. People are worried about him running after his concussion, and if you want, you can go rushing yards. I'm fine with either, but based on a lot of what you can do, trying to figure out what is best over on Prize Picks is kind of look at the variation based on betting websites. And I mean, MGM has it -140, DK -130, -120, -120 at FanDuel, and Caesars -125 at pretty much all other sites. This one I didn't hit on an actual sports book, but if we're looking to add a fourth here, then this is probably the obvious one to me. If you want to add a fourth just to get those odds down. So while it's only very, very marginal plus value at the -119, and we can throw some basketball stuff on here if we really want to. I'm not against that to get it to that 5 pick, but this is an NFL show, so it's up to you.
I'm fine with just NFL stuff. So I mean, Jalen Hurts more than 7.5 rush attempts. I almost prefer maybe with Hurts, I almost prefer the rush attempts to the rushing yards because the tush push is a rush attempt. It may only be a yard, so if there may be, and also on 4th and 1, they do that also. So it's quite possible he could have 8 rush attempts for only like 18 yards rushing, and the yardage doesn't get there. So I'm perfectly fine with the rush attempts. Do you have what? Okay, so if we want to get up to 5, we already have Jaden Daniels more than half a passing yard. Do you have this is what I'm looking to do because I don't want positive correlation. I want negative correlation because typically when you bet more than for a quarterback's passing yards, it's correlated to a more than on a receiving yard prop. But since the more than is a half a passing yard, like it's not at that point. Nothing's. I mean, it's everything, right? Jaden Daniels did pass for 16 yards, and like none of the receivers get there. So, do you have a Commanders receiving prop that is a less than?
I do. The problem is that it was kind of based more on being plus odds, but we're getting the freebie in here. We want negative correlation, so I guess we can go with Brown under 3.5 receptions. I got it plus 106.
You're talking about Diami Brown.
Yeah.
I hate the way that so many people do overs that you can't even put demons and goblins for like. I want to go like less than 5.5, and you're not allowed to do that because no one likes going less than. Do you want 3.5 receptions, or do you want to do maybe something like fantasy score or something like that?
I'm fine with either. I mean, the main thing with receptions is he's been great so far in the playoffs. 5 receptions on 5 targets versus the Bucks. 6 receptions on 8 targets versus the Lions. But both of those teams funnel targets, or rather funnel teams to pass. Like they're big pass funnels. Both of them have 2 of the highest rates of passing plays against in the NFL. Not quite the same with Philly. Philly's obviously going to run the ball a ton. Like they're going to eat up a lot of clock, long sustained drives outside of when Barkley goes for like 60 rushing yards on one play over and over again and destroys my under every single time. And I keep betting it. So I'm done with that. But I probably, let's see. What is his fantasy points number at?
9.5.
9.5. Let's see what 9.5. Is this full point PPR or half point PPR?
This would be full. This would be DraftKings score, I believe. I mean, I'll check.
I mean, we can check. I mean, we'll. I know you like to go off the blitz, so we can check the blitz and see what they have them projected for. Let's see.
No, reception. It's full point PPR. It's DraftKings score.
Yeah. So, I mean, the blitz has them projected for 8.14. You said it's at 9.
9.5. Yeah.
So yeah, we can roll with that under. I mean, probably a little bit more value on that. But yeah, I'm just not expecting the same volume for him here. Numbers just a bit too high. Defense is way better over in Philly. So yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, so let's go down there. And the only reason I'm understand the only reason that I'm taking a less than here is because of the negative correlation of the little freebie one. Like most people play positive correlation, but Prize Picks typically dings your payout much too much for what the correlation is worth. Because a lot of people go, well, I'm gonna play Patrick Mahomes over and then 3 receivers over. And then it's like, well, you're not getting paid the right amount for that. Like normally you're supposed to get 10x for a 4 pick like that, and then you're gonna get like 7.5x. It's like that ding down is not worth that. Like, yeah, the correlation is worth something, so you shouldn't be getting paid 10x like before, but it should be more something like 9.2x and not 7.5x. So they ding you too much. So that's why when I put together these cards on the show that we do every Thursday, like I'm trying to avoid correlated anythings because they ding you too much. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, they didn't even ding you at all for any type of correlation, and it was printing money. But they don't. It's not 2 or 3 years ago anymore. So that's why if I'm putting together stuff, I'd rather either be not related to anything or negatively correlated. And most of the time, you don't want to play negatively correlated things in a parlay. But when the more than for Jaden Daniels is a half a passing yard, like all the receivers could go under. You're not looking to hit 225.5. You're looking for him basically just to breathe and snap the ball like once or twice and throw the ball once and you're good. Like you don't need anyone else to get there. So that's the main reason why we're doing this. So Diami Brown less than 9.5 fantasy score. Okay, how about in the Chiefs Bills game? What do we got? I mentioned the Chiefs. You got anything for Patrick Mahomes or the receivers? Or I mean, all of them didn't get there other than Kelsey last week.
Yeah, and I mean the one I'm looking at is going to be Mahomes over rushing yard or rushing attempts rather. And granted, I did get this at a little bit better odds, plus 100, but I think that he's shown that he's going to take off. Like last week, he had 7 rushing attempts. In bigger games, he'll definitely run. He's had 5+ and over 50% of the games so far this year. In the playoffs, have to assume he's going to do the same thing. Going to be a little bit higher scoring, more competitive game than he's generally used to. Could very much be trailing in this spot. Bills are a great team. I know the Chiefs are favorite. I am actually more on the Bills side of things, but 4.5 rushing attempts, a little bit too low.
Do you prefer the rushing attempts or the rushing yards?
Probably the rushing attempts, although
rushing yards
we can go
25.5.
Yeah, 25.5. I mean, that's right in line with most of the market. It's up to you. I'm fine with either. I kind of prefer the rushing attempts personally.
Okay. We'll take it. More than 4.5 rush attempts for Patrick Mahomes. How about on the Bills side? Are we taking a lot of? It sounds like the quarterback's going to be doing a lot of rushing this week.
I mean, it sounds like that, but it's mainly those two. I mean, Josh Allen. I mean, there's going to be a lot of rushing attempts. This is our 4 of the biggest rushing QBs in the league. So there's going to be rushing attempts, but I mean, it's more just finding value on the current lines, which QBs who tend to rush.
There's not much out there. That's generally the problem, right?
fine.
Right. But you got something for the Bills.
I do, and it's an ugly one. It's gross, but Amari Cooper under 1.5 receptions. He got 1 target last week, 3 targets the week before versus the Broncos. Hasn't really been terribly involved in this offense. It's an interesting matchup here. It's a low line, but most books are heavily leaning towards the under. -120, -120, -140, -140, -124, -135. And you're getting essentially -119 effectively at Prize Picks for it. So there's value in the sense that the markets are heavily going towards the under. This is going to be a low scoring game, or lower scoring than we're used to for the Bills. 47.5 total. Probably going to be a decent amount of work on the ground for both teams. Numbers seems too low, but it's probably a bit too high because they just have so many guys to spread the ball out to. And I mean, Cooper could absolutely get 10 plus targets here. That could absolutely happen. He could get 7 or 8 receptions, but we're going on median outcome here. And I believe the median outcome is lower than 1.5.
So you prefer the 1.5 receptions to the 2.5 targets, to the 17.5 receiving yards, to the 4 fantasy score.
I mean, yeah.
It's much more likely. Don't you think it's much more likely that Amari Cooper, if when he gets snaps, it's much more likely to be higher ADOT targets? So it's much more like I'm taking a look at the 4 fantasy score. That's it. Said the way that this loses is like a 30-yard reception, right? 1 catch for 30 yards, or 2 catches for, 2 for 20 hits the 4. But I think it's much more likely that, that's why I'm looking like I think maybe I prefer the 1.5 receptions or the 2.5 receiving targets to the receiving yards and the fantasy score. Because Amari Cooper could just have 1 catch for 58 yards and a touchdown, and all these other things lose, but that's his only catch the whole day.
Well, just look at his overall season numbers, and granted, they're going to be heavily skewed from playing with Deshaun Watson, who is just trash. But he has right around a 50% catch rate. So you kind of look at that. You need 2 receptions to lose this bet. You need 3 targets to lose this bet. That's implying a 66% catch rate is essentially what it's doing. And yes, he could go 2 for 2, but he's more likely to go 1 for 3 than he is to go 2 for 2.
Something must be going on. I mean, what do you? The fact that they sign him, but obviously, he's not going to play Shakir's role. So, I mean, he's not a slot receiver. So I understand Shakir running ahead of him. But, they sign him, and then Mac Hollins and Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel and, the 2 tight end sets. I mean, it seems like what is something wrong with Amari Cooper? Or is it just they signed him and just Josh Allen just feels more comfortable? It seems like Mac Hollins is someone that he just happens to have a rapport with the past 2 years as this weird third receiver that Amari Cooper's just not on the same page, because it's odd to see that the snap count. It's not like he's just going out there and not playing well. It's just they're not even giving him an opportunity.
Yeah, no, he only has I think he maxed out at 50% snap rate to this team. Let me look right here. Yeah, it looks like 54% is the max amount of snaps he played. And the problem is they have depth. I mean, you can look at the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs went out, got DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins has been playing 30, 40, 50% snap rate. But they just have so many different guys. Should Hopkins be playing less snaps than Juju? Maybe not. Should be playing roughly similar ones to Justin Watson in most spots. maybe not. I mean, but even Brown, which that's more of an injury thing and still getting used to it. The offense, it's just when you have that much depth and you run so many different plays and you have a really good athletic quarterback, sometimes you just design plays specifically for different guys. And I mean, I guess the main thing with Amari Cooper is like with a lot of these guys, it goes down to like what your route tree is. Like you have to design specific plays for specific skill sets, and the skill sets of Cooper, of Coleman, of Hollins, of Shakir, of Samuel are all kind of a little bit different. So you design specific plays and have guys in for specific plays because they are better running an out route, a deep route, a curl route. Like they're going to have different skill sets. And so sometimes when you have 5 incredibly viable wide receivers with very different skill sets, you're going to throw them in for different plays, obviously. And plus, they're on top of that, anytime you get a team that likes to run the ball a decent amount, kind of needs protection, different skill sets are going to be more applicable when you have Allen, who's going to rush the ball a lot. So it's more about getting the guy in there in the right plays every single time. I mean, obviously we see it on teams. The most simple way to kind of explain this is we see it on teams. Jake Bobo, for instance, Seattle, great blocking wide receiver. Yes, he'll get some passes. Yes, he's gotten some touchdowns, strangely enough, some big plays, but he's mostly in there to block. And we've seen it all sorts of times we see it constantly with running backs. I mean, look at Justice Hill versus Derrick Henry. Henry, not good at receiving, not good at pass protection. So Hill gets mixed in there for receiving and pass protections. Occasionally he'll get some rushes, but yeah, it's more about that. But Cooper could just be not very good.
Saquon Barkley is good. Is 129.5 rushing yards too high of a prop? Because apparently 113.5 last week was not high enough, apparently.
Yeah, no, I know. I had the under. I'm still like I just keep I've hit the under on him so many times, and he has cost me a significant amount of money because he is an outlier. This year is an outlier. What he is doing is incredible. I mean, we've seen it happen, 8 times, 7 times over the course of the last 25 years. Like, guys don't go for 2,000 rushing yards. It just doesn't really happen, but he is going to get the volume, and somehow he's just a freak of nature who can go for a 60, 70, 80-yard run any given week. And it seems to happen almost every single week.
Okay,
looking
well,
at his
in this card
at his game log right here. Let's see. He has gone for 60 plus rush yards or 50 plus yard rushing attempt in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games this season, which is incredible. Yeah, what's the payout on the?
We got 11x on the 5, so we actually get a little bit of a boost because we put Diami Brown in. Instead of getting 10x, we're getting 11x for a perfect lineup. 15x if we're first place in our group, because remember, this is arena play. So we got Jaden Daniels, more than half a passing yard. It's the promo. So if you're using the promo on PrizePicks, that they understand this is the time of year where the sports books are going to have heavy advertising and a lot of promos because they're going to try to acquire new customers, especially during the Super Bowl. So you want to use your promos. If you're signing up for new books, if you're around, you're going to play PrizePicks, Underdog, Flip, or whatever sites you have available to you. They're going to offer you some, maybe even a deposit bonus or something. Take advantage of all of this. So we got Jaden Daniels over more than half a passing yard. We got Jalen Hurts more than 7.5 rush attempts. Patrick Mahomes more than 4.5 rush attempts. Diami Brown less than 9.5 fantasy score, and Amari Cooper less than 1.5 receptions. Are you going to be ready in 2 weeks? This next week, Grant, I'm not going to be here. I'm on vacation for a week. But then after that, are you going to be ready for Thursday and finding some Super Bowl bets that like for exotics that never exist any other day other than for the Super Bowl? Because I know the Super Bowl, you get, is the coach going to be drenched? What color of Gatorade does the coach get drenched in? And like the how many sequins will be on the singer's dress during the halftime show? Like those types of things. You gonna be ready for those?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love the dumb prop bets. I mean, I go real heavy on the coin flip. I think I've hit the coin flip 3 of the last 4 years, and last year I went heavy on the coin flip.
Let me be clear. Are you betting on the coin flip at minus money?
No, it was plus 100 over at DK last year.
Okay, plus one. Okay, so basically it's just zero. It's not. It's just. It's no vig.
It was like minus 101 at Caesars, and I did put a G on it there last year just because.
What to make your account look stupid? I mean, like, what is there a point to that?
It's partially to make my account look stupid, partially to keep it from getting limited, and also like it's minus 101, but you still get the player points, you still get the tier points. So minus 101, you're effectively losing what, $5 on $1,000 bet.
Right. Well, you can do that, and you can bet the other side on DraftKings, and you lose $5, but you get all the tier credits.
Yeah, which effectively goes to $1 in Caesar's rewards, which also if you transfer over to Wyndham, you can get $3 of value out of that, but that's beside the point. Yeah, it was mostly just for fun, and I didn't check DK because
do you have the early lead on the coin flip, Grant? Grant, do you have where's the sharp action on the coin flip?
I think it's heads. I mean, I have to look into, but last year I actually looked into a little bit, and the way that the coin is weighted, it was like a 51.5% chance of heads just because of the way it was weighted. So I have to look into it again, see if it's similar. I'm guessing it's a similar coin, so heads is the more likely one.
So all the sharp people they're already piling money in on heads. We should see the market move.
No, I have to make a trip across the border up to Wyoming or Arizona to go put some money on heads because it's not available in Colorado, which is really dumb. So last year I happened to be in Phoenix during the Super Bowl, but yeah, I mean I'll figure out a way. I've got.
You're gonna drive like 2 hours or something to Wyoming.
Allegedly, I would drive 2 hours and not just call a friend and Venmo them $1,000.
I'm just saying that. I mean,
allegedly.
It sounds like you're driving 2 hours to Wyoming, so you could bet minus 101 on a coin flip.
Oh, it'll be plus 100 at DK.
Okay, so that makes it all better, right? When it's completely neutral EV. You got the gas money. The gas just to get there and back is that's worth.
Yeah, no, I mean it's essentially what you are doing when you bet plus 100, whether it's $5, $10, $1,000. Like you are getting free fun in the long term because effectively over the long term, it's going to average out to zero, like net zero. Although last year again, I went heavier than normal because I knew the coin was weighted in a way that it was technically like a 3% edge to heads. So I'm like, I'll take a 3% edge, and this is just fun.
Well, the funny part though is, and I said this last year, that if for most people, this is my stance typically when I talk about line shopping and things like that. If you bet minus 102, minus 101, minus 103 on the coin flip, everyone could look at that. Almost everyone could look at that and go, well, that's stupid. Well, it should be plus 100 on both sides. I mean, like, that should be the true odds, right? So if you bet minus 102 on a coin flip, for most people, that will be the best bet they've made all year.
Yep.
Like it's a weird decide. Like, well, that's a stupid bet. It's like, yeah, and it's going to be the bet with the least amount of casino edge or sportsbook edge that you would have bet the whole year, because so many people are betting minus 125 on some prop that should be minus 110, and they're betting a 3-leg parlay on minus 300 favorites that all should be, minus 360 with and then the parlay has a 10% hold on top of that. It's like, dude, minus 102 on a coin flip is actually, you're losing the least amount of money compared to all the other bets. If you're plus 100 bet on heads, best bet of the whole year. Like, literally, that's like the top lock, gold star play of the day type of, because you're placing 8-leg SGPs that have 48% holds on them, right? Or you're not line shopping. You're betting on Caesars at minus 126 when there's a minus 115 available at 365, right? Like, so a lot of times I try to do that to put things into perspective to people of like, if you think betting minus 102 on a coin flip is stupid, well, let's take a look at the 1,000 bets you've placed throughout the year and how exponentially stupid all of those are compared to minus 102 on a coin.
Yeah, which is also funny because you take things a step further with the tier points and the crowns and all that stuff. Like, at plus 100, it's technically plus EV. If you can get plus 100 at Caesars this year, I know they did it a few years ago. Last year just happened to be a little bit different. But what you can do is a lot of places give you exponentially more tier points, crowns, whatever, when you parlay things. So you want to bet on the coin flip, and you want to also bet on the Chiefs. Well, what you do, let's say you just want to throw money on the Chiefs. If it's plus 100, you throw money on heads in the Chiefs, tails in the Chiefs, and boom, you've effectively increased the amount of tier points and the amount of crowns that you're going to get by increasing the odds. But if you're going to throw $100 on Chiefs, you throw $50 on tails in the Chiefs, $50 on heads in the Chiefs, you're essentially betting $100 on the Chiefs, getting more tier points, and also most likely the books are going to look at you like, oh, they're not going to factor in, oh, he's betting different sizes. They're just most likely going to say, okay, he's more of a what's the opposite of a sharp? Why can't I remember?
Just an idiot. Or a square.
Idiot.
Or just a moron. That's fine.
Yeah.
But Grant, you're not a moron, and people can find you at the Action Network Discord, which is where we found out. You just Google that and just get in. So if you want to get into the Action Network Discord, just Google Action Network Discord. It comes up, and join that Discord. And will you be live betting these conference championship games there?
I'm trying to figure that out. I will pretty much for sure be doing one, most likely the Commanders and Eagles. But yeah, I'm stuck on solo dad duty this weekend, so it might not be in there for the Bills Chiefs. But Nick Giffen, he's the one with the model. He will be doing both games regardless. So there will be money to be made in the Bet What Happens Live Discord channel over on Action Network. And I'll be throwing out plays over on Parlay Science Discord. Links in my Twitter bio to go sign up there. And Scores and Odds. Just go to scoresandodds.com. Sign up. I throw picks there all the time.
Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me those dummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to always know when I go live. I'll be back tomorrow with Bobby Gomes to talk GPP strategy for this 2-game championship round slate. And I'm here. I won't be here next week. I always every day I want to show the programming. No shows next week. I haven't been fired. Whatever. I'm going on vacation, right? So no shows next week, but I'm normally here at 11 o'clock in the morning talking all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick'em on RotoGrinders Today.